This is Judy Naughton, and I'm doing this on December the 17th, 2002. The first slide was of my brother, David, and this slide is of my sister-in-law and Barbara, and this is my mother. And this is my grandmother Klein, my father's mother. Her name was Jenny. And this is my father and his mother. These pictures were taken in December of 1966. There's my brother again, and my mother and my grandmother. This is my grandmother Klein. This is my father, and his name was John C. Klein, and he was known as Jack. And there's my brother getting ready to go off to college. He went to Otterbein College in Ohio. He's waving goodbye. There's my mother and my father. They were a very happy couple. And there's my mother. These were all, oh, and there are my two grandmothers. The one on the right is Lucy Wills. That's my mother's mother. And my grandmother, Jenny. That's my mother's brother, Raymond, and his wife, Ann. And there's my father and my cousin, Raymond, and Ann's daughter, Terry. And there's Janet and Ann. This is in their home in South Fork. And there's Janet and Lucy Ray and Terry and their dog Maggie. These were all taken at my uncle's home. This is my grandmother Wills. These were taken in January of 1967. It was Michael and my father. And there's Michael, and he's watching the ball game. And I have no idea who was playing. Apparently not somebody too important. He's sleeping there. There's Michael again. These are all at my mother's and father's home in Ebensburg, Pennsylvania. This is Michael, and he's clowning around. And there's me. It's in 1967, January of 1967. This is Michael's best friend, Malcolm Tassie. This was taken in February of 67. And this is Malcolm and a friend I worked with at Child Protective Services, Alice Monroe. There's Malcolm again. Malcolm was getting ready to go to the Vietnam War. There's Malcolm and Michael. This was taken in Pittsburgh. Malcolm had come to visit us. And there's Ray Dolish. These were good friends. There's Ray again. There's Mike and Malcolm, and this was at 5 Cable Place in Pittsburgh, where Mike was still in school. There's Malcolm. They were just having a good time with each other, playing some cards before Malcolm went overseas. This is Malcolm at the airport when he's getting ready to go home to New Jersey and then go on to Vietnam. And that's me with him. And there's Michael and Malcolm. This is the last time Michael would see Malcolm because he was killed in Vietnam in June of 1967. There he goes, flying home. There's Michael at the airport after we had said goodbye to Malcolm. There he is at Cable Place. This is March of 1967, and that's Lucy Monaco. She married a very good friend of Mike's, Frank. And there's Frank. They had gone to school together in New Jersey. There's Mike. And Michael and I. Look at my hair. My goodness. And there's Frank and Lucy. We were at their home and we had gone to visit. There's the three of us, Frank and Lucy and me. I didn't realize Lucy was as short as she is. And there's Mike at the apartment on Cable Place. And there's Michael at Cable Place, and that car to his left is his station wagon. We used to call it the Bomb. And there's Mike at Cable Place again. And this was taken on St. Patrick's Day, 1967. There's friends that Michael had gone to school with, Howard and Sunday. And there's Michael with his St. Patrick's Day hat on. He seems to have been imbibing a while on St. Patrick's Day. There's Howard again and his girlfriend Sunday. There's Mike Graft and Kathy and Mike. There's Michael again. There's Howard and I sitting there going over the party. We're back in Ebensburg. This is my mother in March. And this was our French poodle, Frankie. His name was Francois Cherie of Judaval. And he was such a nice dog. There's Liz Grazier and the baby she adopted, Becky. And that's Dick and Liz and the baby. They had a child, but he was older. There's Michael. There's Michael again at Cable Place. Most of these were taken in Cable Place. It was a nice area. Mike lived over a bakery on Cable Place. This is one of our pictures where we took it ourselves. And there I am again. I used to go down and visit Mike on weekends. There's Michael in his car. I don't know how it got around as much as it did, but it did. There's Mary Jo and Jennifer Grumling. These were friends of mine that I went to college with. And there's my mother and father on Easter of 1967. And Michael and I at Easter again. And there's my father and his dog Frankie. Frankie used to sit like that for the longest time. This was New York in April of 1967, and we were at Rockefeller Center. You can see them skating behind me. And we were taking a tour of the city. There I am again. We dressed up a lot whenever in those days, didn't we? There's Mike in front of Saks Fifth Avenue. And there's Mike and I in front of St. Patrick's Cathedral. And there I am again at Rockefeller Center. It's very hard to see, but this is Mike in the Rainbow Room. This is the New York skyline. This was one of my favorite pictures I used to try and take all the time. This was going. Oh, there's Mike and his mother, Mary. And this was taken at Wells Place. This is Mike's grandmother, Mary Naughton's mother, Elizabeth Gagan. There's Grandpa Gagan. His name was Joseph. There they are together. They were married over 50 years. And there's a picture of Mike's mother and grandmother and grandfather. This was their apartment. And there's Mike with his grandmother and grandfather and mother. It was a very happy family. It wasn't very long after this that Grandpa died. This is Grandma Fricky. This is Michael's grandmother on his father's side, his father's mother. And she was the best cook in the whole world. She loved to cook, and she loved Michael to death. She was a very nice lady. This is Aunt Gertrude, Mike's only aunt, on his father's side. There's Grandma Fricky in her home in Brooklyn, New York. There's Michael and his grandma. He loved his grandma very much. She never went out of the house for the last 20 years, and she was housebound. But she loved to have us come to visit, and she always cooked Michael's very favorite, no matter what it was that he wanted. She made it. There are the three of us, getting ready to leave, I guess. And there we are at Michael's brother's home, Dennis, and this is their first child, Aaron. And there's Dennis. Dennis was 3 years older than Michael. And this was in, as I said, April of 1967. There's Erin and her mother, Betsy, with the blonde hair. There's Erin and Grandma Naughton. She was the first grandchild, so she was very important. There's Betsy and Erin, the proud mom. And there's Dennis. And Michael. Dennis looks like he's writing something very important. I think we were playing Scrabble and he was keeping score at that point. There's Betsy. Now we're back in New Jersey at Mike's grandmother's at Wells Place, at Mike's mother's at Wells Place. He's cutting the grass. Here we are in May of 1967, and this is my Aunt Pearl Rickard. This is my father's oldest sister. His mother, Grandma Klein. And this was Aunt Pearl's daughter, Kathy. She had just graduated from high school. There's my grandmother, Klein. And there's Mike at Forbes Field. We used to go to a lot of ball games at Forbes Field. There's a picture of Forbes Field. Not there anymore. There's Mike We are in Forbes Field in Pittsburgh. And there's me. We're getting ready to leave Forbes Field at this point. Here are Dennis and Betsy and Aaron at their home, their apartment. Dennis was trying to teach Aaron how to wave goodbye. There's Michael with his company car. He had started with Scott Paper Company. There was Aunt Pearl again. We'd gone to visit her and to show her the car. And there she is again. This is the meadows at the racetrack. Michael on the patio in Pittsburgh, up on the roof at Cable Place. This is the only place you could get some sun. He was sunbathing up on the patio. We didn't have a swimming pool. We just had to make do up on the patio on the rooftop. Oh, there's Mike at the Point in August of 1967 in Pittsburgh. We've gone down to see the Point Stadium. There's Mike and I again. It's very hard to see. I guess you can't see that very well, but that's a riverboat in Pittsburgh. And this was a shower at Wells Place for my wedding. And those were all the gifts. And there's Betsy and Mary Moran's back there. All the shower guests. It's hard to see who all of them are at this point. Oh, there's Aunt Peg and Aunt Loretta and Grandma Gagan and Aunt Gertrude. There's Mary Moran. And there's Betsy and me opening presents, and there's Grandma Naughton. And there's Lori, it's a friend. And we were just opening all the gifts. This was a surprise. I had no idea that they were going to do this for me. This was very nice. Part of my trousseau. This was the shower table with the gifts and some of the goodies that we got. And the lovely spread at my mother's house. We had lots to eat. And there I am at the shower. Oh, and there's the cake. It's hard to read what it is. There I am cutting it. It's interesting. They even got me a corsage. There's Erin and her mom, Betsy, at Wells Place. She had come to the party too. It was Erin. There's Dennis and Aaron. I think Aaron must have worn him out. He was really resting. There's Betsy. And there's Ray Dolish after the bachelor party. There's Aaron, just starting to crawl. And there's Grandma Naughton and her oldest son, Dennis. The following pictures are August the 27th, getting ready for the wedding. August the 26th, 1967, getting ready for the wedding and the honeymoon in the Jamaica, West Indies. There's Betsy and me at our wedding, getting ready to go. We were at Grandma Naughton's home on Wells Place. Betsy was my matron of honor. There's Grandma Naughton and Betsy and me. And friends of ours had decorated the staircase for me. It was such a nice idea. It was Vicki Hensel and Cindy Dahlbeck that came and decorated the staircase before I came down. There's Alan Dahlbeck, who was one of Mike's ushers, and Mrs. Naughton at the church. And there's John McKay and Alan Dahlbeck at the church unfolding the white carpet. There's Betsy coming down the aisle. And there's Dennis bringing me down the aisle. It was a very happy occasion. It's a better picture. It's Michael waiting for me at the altar. And there's the bridal party on the altar. It was Betsy as my matron of honor, Dennis is the best man, Michael and I. It's Dennis and Betsy leaving the altar after the ceremony. Father Bagley married us. And there we were leaving the altar after the wedding. Then there's the receiving line. It's Michael kissing Cindy Dahlbeck. And there's Michael shaking Connie Halligan's hand. There's the wedding party. The bridal party was a very nice wedding. It was lovely. And there was Dennis toasting, getting ready to make his toast as the best man. And there we were at the buffet. The reception was held at the Holiday Inn in East Rutherford. And it's no longer there. That's where Giant Stadium is now. These are the wedding guests. It's my friend Linda, who Brocious, who came from Johnstown to be at the wedding with her husband Walt. Michael and I cutting the cake. And this was the bride feeding the groom, and the groom feeding the bride. There's Father Bagley and Michael and I after we were married. It's Linda and John McKay and Michael and I, and Linda's husband, Walt. There's Kurt White and his wife Shirley and Michael. They had come to be at the wedding. They had been married a few years longer than we had. There's Dennis and his mother, Mary. These are more of the wedding guests. Uh, there's Aunt Loretta in the white, and Joel and Kenny, her children. There's Kenny sitting there. Doesn't look like this is his favorite place. There's me sitting on Aunt Peg's lap. And there's Mary Moran, friend of Aunt Gertrude's. And there's Mary Naughton. We always called her the cruise director. She was always telling people what to do. There's Yvette and Eldon, which were friends of Dennis's. And there are some more wedding guests. Betsy and Dennis at the buffet table. Dennis is toasting us at this point. This is very, very lovely things he said. And there's the bridal table. There's Mrs. Dahlbeck and Mrs. Smith. There's Michael and I again. This is Michael and I leaving the reception. We were getting ready to fly to Jamaica. We spent the night in New York, and it rained so badly we didn't get out of New York until 10 o'clock that night, and we landed in Jamaica. We stayed in Ocho Rios in the Plantation Inn, and we walked all around. We were at the straw stand, which it was a beautiful island, just lovely. And if you can look real hard, there's a hog back in there, a wild hog. And there's a main street everywhere in the world, and this was the one in Ocho Rios. And this is when we were just walking and enjoying the sights, looking around. And this was the entrance into the Plantation Inn. It was such a beautiful place. Mike's mother had given me a bikini, and there were places that had never seen the sun before. And we were out on the private beach in front of the Plantation Inn. It was absolutely gorgeous. And there's Michael at the rum punch party. The natives used to, and there he comes down the road with his planter's punch. And there's the Calypso band on the beach. And this was most interesting. The native was climbing the coconut tree, and then he would drop the coconuts from the top of the tree. It was very, very interesting, and they would go all the way up on those coconut trees. That's mighty high. The natives used to go through with the burros, and they had their wares that they were trying to sell on the burros. And of course, Michael decided that I needed to ride on the burro. So one of the natives was putting me up on there. with the basket on top of my head. And we rode around. It was very interesting. Then this is one of the natives. We went out on a glass bottom boat and we were able to see down. The water was so clear. You could see your feet when you were standing waist high in the water. It was absolutely beautiful. Just beautiful. You can see the shoreline behind us. And there we were at the Club Maracas on Tuesday night of our honeymoon. And this was Mike and I and a couple that we met while we were down there, the Formans, and we had a nice time with them. They had been there before. On Wednesday, we went to a place called Dunn's River Falls, and it was absolutely beautiful. As you can see, we would climb up those falls, and the water was rushing down. Was one of the highlights of the trip, to be going up and down these. It was just beautiful. If you look real closely, you can see me back there with all that water. The waterfalls were just falling. Look at that, how beautiful it is. It's just gorgeous. And there we were with the natives just looking around and seeing where everything was. And there's the beach. Or we're just taking a walk to look at the wares. There's Michael doing the limbo on the beach. There he is. Now that was Michael doing the limbo. Now you can see a native getting ready to do the limbo. They really knew what they were doing. How low he goes. This was a pub we went to on the island. This was lovely. And then Thursday, this was Spanish Town. We took a ride down there to see that. And there I am at an old church. And Michael and I rented a car, an Austin Minor, I think. And this was the road to Kingston, and the donkey cart was behind us. And there was a Kingston police officer. They're very English looking. And there was a monument in the harbor. And again, I am in Kingston on the corner. We're just kind of watching the police officer and how he's directing traffic. I think that's the only time Michael ever had a hat on. He looks good. There were Mike and I, again, trying to take that picture without anybody else helping us. And there we are. See the cart behind us. Now we're down at the Kingston Harbor. It was a very lively place. There's Michael. And there were lots of native children around. And the clothes were not an important part of their life. Here we were at the shopping center and the car that we had rented. And this was just a street in Kingston. And the agricultural center, which was very large in Jamaica. And there is the road to Strawberry Hill. We had been told by Yvette, Michael's friend who was a native of Jamaica, that we had to have tea at Strawberry Hill. And this was the road up to Strawberry Hill, which we didn't realize was straight up. As you can see, there I am in the car. And as we were driving along, there were the natives walking along the road. and the mountain goats. And there you can see Kingston from Strawberry Hill. There I am pointing at it. That's down at Strawberry Hill. And this was in the Strawberry Hill Inn. We had gone up there, as I said, to have tea, but it was a beautiful, beautiful pub. It looked just like an English pub. Unfortunately, we were too early for tea, and the gentleman said that we needed to really get on our way. So uh, we drove back a different way, and we got to the Jamaican Defense Center. But before we left, this was the outskirts. And there's the owner of Strawberry Hill. Wasn't it beautiful? And in Spanish Town, the betting shop. And there we're back on Thursday night to the Plantation Inn and the Calypso Band. And we had our own waiter the entire week. And we went to the Wooden Spoon Club to hear reggae music. And Samson was just one of our guides, and he was just so nice. He was teaching me how to dance the reggae way. It was a lot of fun. We had just a terrific time with him. He was so nice and pleasant. Those are the people we met, the Foremans again, as I said. And then this was breakfast out on the terrace of our room. It was just beautiful. And I don't think you can really see too much of it, but it was really, really pretty. And there's the Shaw Park Hotel. That was absolutely gorgeous. Just beautiful. As you can see, it was all lush and green. And we had gone on a tour up there. And to look down and to see everything. And there we were just walking down the various different places. There's Mike and I. It was a nice honeymoon. And there were the waterfalls. See the waterfalls? And there I am at the pool. There we were sitting on a cannon, Mike and I, just to get our picture taken. And that was just one tree. Isn't that huge? And the pool. And Mike had gone snorkeling, and he really had a good time. And he looks very big and enjoyed it very much.